Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Paul Mendocia, Dr. Speed Selling. This is the Raging Verbalist, and this is number 32. And it's exciting because this is now, we're into July. We're coming up on July the 4th. We're going to be talking about that. And as always, with me is the lovely Sandra asking the questions. Hello, Sandra.
Hello, how are you?
Doing well, doing well. And,
Good.
I know you're excited because, that this weekend you're going to do all kinds of exciting things. You were telling me something about, moving large animals around, and we're not talking about people with feed bags, are we?
No, I got out of doing that. My dad's not doing all the farm work. He's going to take a little rest this weekend, so we're
Wow.
good.
Well, I was trying to live vicariously through you about moving heifers, and I don't even know what the hell I'm saying, but moving big animals,
There
big
you go.
animals.
There you go.
So good. All right. Well, hey, welcome. Glad that you're here on the Raging Verbalist. And for those who don't know, Raging Verbalist is every Friday at 8 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time or Pacific Standard Time. We get back to that and talk about topics at hand. This is aims at things like business and how to make yourself and your life better and all of those types of things. Topics that I select. If you want to help us select topics or ask questions, you can go to the Position to Win Facebook group and you can drop those in there. Sandra moderates that. She'll be able to pick up questions and all of those things. Also, you can go to that Facebook group and join it, and you'll see lots of cool, fun, free things happening and all of that. So what we're going to be talking about today is that this is really a different Independence Day than I've ever seen. It's crazy. It's different because we have the pandemic. We have a lot of things going on, lots of conflicting insanity walking around. The globe is doing all kinds of interesting things. So I thought we would talk about independence because independence is so important and what this world looks like today versus what it looked like just, I don't know, a few short years ago. And I know some of you, because you're cooped up. I mean, I hear a lot of that. I mean, you want to talk about people who don't understand what this is really like, but yeah, hey, so you can't go somewhere. I know it's tough, but it's all right. I've already dealt with the fact that I'm not going on air. I haven't been on an airplane in so many months. I mean, I'm just, withdrawal. We're over that. So I just want you to point out that today it's going to be different Independence Day. You ought to make sure that you make it a great one. You ought to enjoy what independence you have, the fact that we can make choices. We get to do what we want to do and all that. So that's what we're going to be talking about today, is how to make sure that you're making those choices, making the right choices. Now, as I'm kicking this off, is that there's an event that I always go to every year. That's where I met Sandra and, recruited her and got her to come on board, which is Freedom Fest. And finally, the folks at Freedom Fest, libertarians to the core, had to throw in the towel yesterday to say, you know what, not going to happen. Coronavirus is there. Vegas is not going to open up. And they finally stopped and they finally said no. Now, I was not going to go myself because of just a real simple process that I went through to realize that, first off, I do not want to catch whatever this thing is. My wife has a health condition, do not want to bring that home. And more importantly, you know what? There's always next year. So they finally did that. So Independence Day is going to be different this year than ever before. And with that, Sandra, what's the first topic? What's the first question? What's on the top of your mind?
What does independence mean to you?
Well, what independence means to me, and I think this is, everybody has to answer it their own way, is that I ask people all the time, especially coaching clients, consulting clients, what would you do if you could really be independent? And most people don't quite have a sense of what that is. I mean, they think of it, they'd have a big pallet of money like in Breaking Bad, and they could just peel off dough when they needed it or something. And to me, independence is really a state of mind. You start thinking that you're independent of some of the things that are constraints in this world. And the interesting thing is that usually people who don't understand independence measure it by externality. And what I mean by that is that independence isn't something that emanates from themselves. If you're an independent thinker, that means you are going to have thoughts, you're going to have concepts, you're going to do things differently than other people will do it. Now, that falls right in line with what I like to say, which is everybody wants to be unique. Nobody wants to be different. So if you're going to be independent, you're going to be thinking differently. You're going to be doing things differently. You're going to be talking about things differently. And in fact, you're going to act differently. So what independence means to me is that I basically can call the shots in my life. Now, all of us can do that. That doesn't necessarily mean that we have to, cast aside everything from society, cast aside all of the, if you will, the shackles of and dogma of all of that. But what it really means is that you make decisions based upon what really you think are your best ways to go forward in life, what you need to go and do to get things done. And if you can figure that out and you can hang on to that, then you have a level of independence. Interestingly enough, most people are not independent, not because they couldn't be, but because they're tied down to something. I see this all the time when I'm talking to clients who say, you know what, I can't possibly do X, whatever that X is, because if I did it, well, here's the problem. I've got these obligations. I've got this, this job I've got to worry about. Well, you don't have independence when you have those types of things. It doesn't mean that you don't take responsibility. It doesn't mean you don't do all those other things. But I can tell you that when I walked out of the corporate world, I went right back in as a consultant. I went right back in doing many of the same things maybe I had done before, but from a different position. And that's really the key. Independence is all about a position that you take. It's something you stake out and you say, this is what makes me independent of what I need to do. It doesn't necessarily mean that you get to, abandon everything. It means that you get to make those choices. In my opinion, I was always making those choices, but I always had to temper it based upon somebody else and what they were doing. So to me, what independence means is there's a certain level of freedom, there's a lot of responsibility, and frankly, I have to take the consequence of every action that I make onto my own shoulders. And if you won't do that, in my mind, you're really not independent. You're really not free. What you really are is a person who's talking about it, but not actually doing it. So to me, that's what independence means to me. All right, Sandra, what do we have next?
Yeah, how important is it to declare your independence?
I've met a lot of people who want to sit there and they're waiting for some day, some point in time. They're waiting for somebody to take their ticket and stamp it and say you're now independent. Now they want to be able to go to the rooftop and shout out that you're independent. And one of the challenges that everyone has is that when you make these decisions in your life and you are now independent, you're now doing what you want to do, is that what you discover to your potential horror is that while you thought they were always talking about you, they were basically just ignoring you. They didn't care. So what you have to understand is that, you have to declare your independence inside of you and you have to live independently. You have to be that person who's independent. The saddest thing I've ever seen are people who are so dependent on a job, a career, a home life situation that's not good, and that chained and held in place and all those things, those are really negative. And these are people who say to me, John, you're lucky that you're able to do some of the things you've been able to do. Well, it didn't come without sacrifice. And what I would say is that it's important to declare your independence first to yourself. By the way, I declared my independence after coming back from Vegas, and I was really, really broke. And then I was working for my father, and that was not independence. That was a lot of dependence. That was anxiety. But what I did was I started to really get my head wrapped around on this whole positioning thing and how I needed to position myself the right way. And what I realized is that I could position myself to be, yes, I would have to be embedded into companies, embedded into marketplaces and do those types of things because obviously that's where the money was at. But in reality, I knew that I was independent of that. I never wanted to be so dependent upon whatever that reward system was, whatever that lifestyle is, that I couldn't go do what I needed to do. See, in life, you're either going to take a risk or you're not. And if you are out there taking risks and having great experiences and doing those amazing things in life, what you'll discover is that you're doing something that the average person never, ever gets a chance to do. And because of that, it will give you a certain elation, a sense of accomplishment, a feeling that, you know what, I'm able to do stuff that others aren't, and I can do it whenever I want to do it. Well, within reason. The most interesting thing about that is that I was sitting there at a hotel room in Taos, New Mexico. My wife was a member of a writing group. Now, she hates to fly. I mean, she's got to take tranquilizers. She's got to do, breathing exercises. I mean, to me, flying is like riding a bus without all the luxury of a bus. But she gets nervous, these things are up in the air, thing could crash. Now, I already have a sense I'm not going to die in an airplane, so I'm okay. Anyway, we need to get to Taos, New Mexico. So what we did is I said, well, why don't we do this? Because she had gone the first time and it was a disaster getting her there. Lots of issues. And what I said is, why don't we drive there and I'll pack up my office in banker's boxes. Sandra knows what those look like when we put together an event in Vegas, and pack up my life. And we drove to Taos, New Mexico, and it took 3 hotels to find the one that I liked. But I'm sitting there in this hotel in the Holiday Inn, and I've got my office set up, and I'm going to be there for the whole week. I was talking to a friend of mine, and he goes, "You're always on vacation." Now, understand, I was getting up and starting work at, this is Mountain Time, at 5 a.m. That's 4 a.m. Pacific. And I was working until the middle of the afternoon. So East Coast was then shutting down. And then I would take some time off, and I was doing, just as I'm doing now, I was writing, I was working with clients, I was running some businesses. And what he didn't understand is that he thought that when you went away, when you went on a trip like that, well, you didn't have a care in the world. Well, what I had is I had responsibilities and things that I do, but I was absolutely independent, because in the middle of the afternoon, when I went to the coffee shop, got out of the hotel room, because gets a little tight in a hotel room after a while. They don't have a tire on a chain that you can swing back and forth. That's only for the primates at the zoo. They don't have that in hotel rooms. I don't know why, because I think they would be useful. But anyway, what I did was I said to him, "You don't get it, do you? I travel." Now this year is different, but I travel somewhere between 5 and 8 weeks out of the year where I'm on the road and take my office with me. And to me, that's almost like being on a vacation, because I'm independent. I get to do what I want to do, and then I get to do other things too. So independence and declaring your independence starts with you saying to yourself, "I'm independent," and understanding you have the freedom, just like I did, to be able to go to Taos, New Mexico, spend a week there several times over a course of a couple of years, get to know the place, enjoy it, experience a lot of things that most people would never experience, but also get things done that I needed to get done. What better way to really express that independence and what that independence is? And to me, that's really critical. That's really important. Now, for all of you who are thinking, okay, so here I am, maybe I'm going to declare my independence or not. I just want to be a reminder. I want to be that person who's knocking on your door saying, listen, half of 2020 is over. 6 months are done. They're gone. We got to talk about new beginnings, because the next 6 months you have to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life. By the way, that's true of every day. You got to decide what you're going to do with the rest of your life. Now, my suggestion is that you figure out what really matters to you and how independent you want to be from the rest of this world, and how independent you'll be from all of the things that are today trapping you and holding you back and really not getting you to where you want to go. And what I hope you'll do is you'll take from this is that you know what? Maybe it's time that you declare your independence and take that one small modest step. And if you do that, my suggestion is that you will find a certain amount of sense of accomplishment because you've done it. Now, maybe you're already there, but most people are in fact trapped by a life that they really don't like. They're hoping that someday, before it gets too late, before they've missed all their opportunities, they'll be able to, quote unquote, get out of that job, get out of that world, and go do something fun. Well, my suggestion, you should go do something fun right here and right now, because that's really important. Now, I also will tell you that if you go to positiontowinbook.com, you can go and pick up, this is great summer reading. Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. It just takes 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win, available at the site. You can get it autographed if you go and buy it there. You can also go to Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble, go to Books A Million. You can go get electronic versions in Kindle. You can get Nook. You can also get the Apple book. Also, we have a brand new project that we're working on called turnaroundengine.com. And for those who are regular followers, by the way, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do. Hit the notification. Send some comments. We'd love to hear about it. Also, this runs on Facebook Live, so go check that out there. But the point of it all is that turnaroundengine.com is all about taking advantage of the amazing opportunity, the once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, in my opinion, that now shows up because of the coronavirus and what it is doing to the economy. The question is, will you be the person who takes advantage of that or not? I hope you'll decide to at least check us out and go to turnaroundengine.com. Okay, have time for a couple more questions. So Sandra, what do we have?
All right. Has the virus taught you that there's more interdependence than independence?
So that's a great question. Most people believe that independence means that I'm not dependent upon anyone. And I was at the Costco the other day, and I saw somebody with a giant pallet of water and toilet paper and paper towels. How long have we had this thing going on? And I said to the guy, I said, look, I got to ask you. Oh, by the way, he had, and I counted it up. He had 6 cases of water, 3 cases of toilet paper, 4 cases of paper towels, and a pack of beef jerky. So, I mean, at least he had his priorities straight. And I said to him, now, I mean, I don't understand why he wasn't stockpiling the jerky. I mean, come on, just in case things get rough. And I said, I don't understand what you're buying. And he got a little PO'd, but I mean, it's great because, we're all wearing masks. So, I couldn't see his, venomous tongue looking at me. And I said, what in the world, man? I mean, come on. And he's like, hey, if this thing shuts down again, I want to be prepared. Okay. Now, what we've learned is that there's an interdependence in this world because a lot of us don't prepare for things. And my suggestion is that the more prepared you are, the more independent you are. The interdependence, though, is that we discover that what happens in some other far-off land like China or, the UK or Colombia or wherever, is that we're all interconnected. In fact, when I did a presentation to a bunch of Peruvian entrepreneur group, there again, was that dependence, interdependence, independence? It's a little bit of all of that. So we're all in this together in a way that we've never been this way before. It doesn't take hundreds of hours or weeks or days. It takes mere seconds. In fact, as I'm recording this, Sandra is sitting there in beautiful Nebraska. Sun is probably out. Summer is probably here. I'm in Southern California, but we're doing this in real time. We're doing this right across the Zoom link. Now, the point of all of this is just understanding that we can develop independence by recognizing that there is a certain amount of dependency, but the more prepared you are, the more independent you are. And for those of you who have not figured out and gotten organized during this time and instead spent your time binge watching, cat videos on YouTube or Netflix where they tell you it's 4 stars, where in the world do they get these ratings? I mean, when I see this thing that says 4 stars, it's Netflix 4 stars. It's like they're little tiny stars. They're not big stars. But the point of it is that what you figure out is that the more prepared you are and you get organized instead of doing all of those other things, that what you'll find is that you have more independence. Yes, we're all interdependent and we are more connected than ever before. And what happens in one part of the world affects us all. But the reality of it is that what we always have to maintain is that we have ourselves to rely upon. We have networks that we build, and we should plan on building those strong networks long before we need them. I don't know if we've gotten to the point yet where we understand that, just like the story of, when should you dig a well? Well, it's before you get thirsty. When should you plant a tree? When's the best time to plant a tree? Well, it's either 30 years ago or today. Well, when's the best time to start building these networks and reinforcing them? That would be right now. Do that and you'll keep building a certain amount of interdependency, but your independence will actually go up because you'll become more capable as you become more as you become more ready to take on whatever is going to happen. Okay, Sandra, one last question, and we're going to call it an early day because, well, everybody wants to go out and do some fun, celebrate.
Yeah, speaking of celebrating, how will you be celebrating this 4th?
So I guess I could say that I'd be watching cat videos on YouTube or binge watching another bad show on Netflix or something. But what I'm going to be doing this weekend, this 4th of July, is really kind of enjoying the fact that, we have some things that are opening up. I wish we could go to a movie or go out to a restaurant and sit down. I'll probably be out, doing some cooking and getting some things done. But more importantly is that I always like to think of Independence Day as a day that you should always think about how lucky we are, absolutely blessed we are to live in an age that we're living in today. I know that there's a lot of negativity out there. I know there's a lot of people who say, wow, things aren't the way they could be or should be or would be or all that. But all I can tell you is that every time that I hit that point, I think about my journey and how I got to where I am today, the sacrifices that were made generations before to get me onto these shores. And the reality is that I get to decide that maybe on July 4th, maybe I do things that I wouldn't normally do, like just kick back and do all those things. Because, of course, I'm a guy who typically works every day, gets up and does something every day. But, I will probably celebrate this by being thankful, being grateful, and knowing that there is always a certain amount of independence that we have. And how do I get a little bit more and a little bit more and help those find a way to get more themselves? Now, with that, I just want to give you a few final thoughts. I hope that every single one of you will declare that this year, this week, this time, this point in time, in spite of all that's going on around us, in spite of all of that, we can sit there and woe is me and do the boo-hoo thing, is that what you'll do is you'll find a way to declare some independence, a little here and a little there. It isn't a binary switch. It isn't an on-off. It isn't just, well, it is and we're done. But what I say to you is, how do you go out and declare a little bit of independence? How do you go pull a little bit of that off for yourself? And how do you find a way to embrace that and feel really good about yourself? Because if you do that, I know what will happen is that you'll have a better day, a better week, a better month, a better year. And we have 6 months left in this year, and we can make this year a fantastic year in spite of all of this. So this is John Paul Mendocha, the Dr. Speed Selling, the Raging Verbalist. Thanking Sandra for asking the questions. Thanking you for listening and being part of it. Hey, go subscribe. Go send us some feedback. Go ask us some questions. And most importantly, go declare your independence today and each and every day. Thank you, and we'll be talking to you next week.